I am in the park by the Lungomare, a place where a tourist as well as a local can have fun with some basket or by just enjoying a nice sunny day. Or maybe you could decide to get out of the park, literally take just a few steps, and sate your hunger at a two-story bus driven by a dinosaur. What better reason to come here if not to enjoy a true hidden gem of the Lido? Ladies and gents, the Planetary. On such a beautiful day in the Lido, I'd like to go to the beach, but today we prefer some culture instead. Tell us, Mr. Stromeo, how was the Planetary born?
We can say that this Planetary was born due to a trip we once did to Milan, where we went to see their Planetary instead. We were all very struck by its magnificence, and one of us even suggested that he could try building our very own Planetary. This man was our first president of the Venetian Astrofili Association. He introduced us to astronomy and to the crafting of telescopes from scratch. This person up here instead is Aldo Abate, who built almost completely on his own the projector of the Planetary, the same that is currently used. He also put together the lenses offered for free by Ven, who were our partners at that time.
I see this is the console. How do you input the commands?
The Planetary is controlled from here. With these knobs, we have the possibility to insert many colors in the dome, but also the stars and other objects. Through this computer, we control the projectors instead. Here we have many different buttons and switches, and they offer the possibility to move the Planetary to imitate the motion of the Earth during any moment of the day. We can also change the latitude if you want to have a look at the sky as if we were at the North Pole. We can also simulate the precession of the equinoxes and move the axis of rotation of the Earth through time. So, for example, we could simulate the sky that the ancient Egyptians would have seen. But we could also move forward in time and see the future instead. Then, on this side can project the stars. We can, of course, modify how bright they are and decide pretty much anything you can imagine. But we can also project a lunar scenario, for example, or a Martian one, as if we were standing right there. There are the external projectors, and they can project anything on the horizon, from the moon and all its phases to asteroids.
Mr. Eltri, what kind of equipment do you have here at the Planetary?
The equipment we have here is sometimes used by the Planetary even outside. We have several telescopes, from instruments needed for very specific topics to telescopes of various kinds. Many have been built by us, like this one, which has a diameter of 35 centimeters, and it belonged to our former president, Father Damaso. Then we have several smaller ones built by us as well. In the past, it often wasn't possible to sustain the costs of equipment like this, and so crafting them ourselves was often necessary. They are still highly efficient tools, with a diameter of 18 centimeters. Here we have a small gem of a telescope. It is meant for solar observation, and it allows to see a considerable variety of phenomena. Here we also have some meteorites. We keep them because they are part of astronomy, of course, extraterrestrial objects that don't belong to our planet, and they can give us a lot of information for the initial evolution phases of our solar system. It is also a good way to entertain the public. It's a very wide subject, so much that some say it should be a completely different science. This is a meteorite of almost 9 kilograms found in Africa. In prehistoric times, these meteorites were often used to craft instruments out of them, like arrowheads and even agricultural tools, as metals weren't known yet. Here we have another iron one, because meteorites are usually composed of iron or nickel, and it is harder than regular iron. The Egyptians had even called it metal from the heavens. So this was our equipment and our meteorites.
Many thanks for your explanation. Mr. Stromeo, could you please tell us about the history of the planetary?
It all began in 1976, when a considerable number of astrophiles got together to create an association that at the time represented a fulcrum for the exchange of news and information among builders of telescopes and more. We used to meet once per week, usually on Saturdays, in S.Nicolo, hosted at the monastery, and among them was Father Damaso, who then became one of our founders. This friar was a physics professor, and he taught us how to build various instruments and tools in a way that allowed us to save a lot of money. So, hosted by the friars of S.Nicolo, we started this association. Then, in 1983, Aldo Abate and Romano Zenna got the idea that we could have at least tried building a planetary, and so many people financed the building of the system, including the dome. The majors of Venice eventually got interested in the planetary and granted a sum of money for its maintenance and expansion, incorporating the theater of the 1930s. We also have an agreement with the city of Venice to host an event or conference on every Sunday, each time on a different topic.
Eventually, we were also granted access to the basement, where the planetary has a very wide equipment for earthquakes research and a lot more. We're about to take a brief look down there. I was also able to listen to radiometeorites entering the atmosphere of our planet. Very small objects, of course, barely millimeters, but it was a very interesting experience. It looks like our tour at the planetary has come to an end, and I have nothing left to do if not thanking Mr. Eltri and Mr. Stromeo.